Well, everyone, guess where we are? You don't need to guess, do you? We're with the very wonderful Mr. Ferry, back in Keith's Birds Room. I'm overexcited, everybody, and I've got to be really careful because there's nests of birds to my left here. But they're so well trained, Keith, aren't they?
Well, I don't know why you're so excited. Well, it's only just the beginning of the season. When things are only just started.
I know, but it's the potential, mate. It's the potential, the heartache to follow.
We always have heartaches through the season, and every breeder does, don't they?
Yeah.
Not everything goes to plan. So,
and that's going to be one of the themes of our show today. We're going to talk mistakes, but we're not only going to talk mistakes. We're going to talk about wonderful things. We're going to look at banding some birds, so ringing some birds. Keith's going to close ring something for us later. We're going to look at dropping the pans as well, preparing for the second round, and then generally we'll talk pretty much nonsense for the next half an hour or so, won't we?
Well, I'm sure we'll make it up as we go along.
We normally do, everyone.
Have a laugh now and again.
Yeah, we normally do. Well, listen, you know what to do, everyone. Grab yourself a cuppa, sit back and enjoy the show. So, everyone, we're here. The season's started, mate. The season started. You've got some lovely looking 5 chicks already in the nest, but it's fair to say it's been an interesting start in the Ferry bird room.
Well, I thought I'd just chat about mistakes, and things don't always go to plan. And this year I found I wanted the 5 to go down a little bit earlier, and they were fit. And I did put them down, and everything worked out well. I'm not keeping so many pairs of 5 this year, hopefully a better quality. So less pairs, but better quality.
Yeah.
And I pulled the slides on them, and they all went down, 6 pair, and 25 eggs, I think it was, 25 eggs, and out of that 25, 24 fertile and 23 hatched, and there's 23 youngsters still. So most of them wrong, which is great.
I'm still waiting for the bit where he said it was a mistake. That sounds like it was bloody marvellous.
Well, that sounds great. But then I thought I'll leave it a week and look at the Norwich. A lot of the ends, they were side the cockbirds, and they were looking fit. But the mistake I made, I decided to pull all the slides. And not having the patience to wait till some of them which didn't look as if they was fit, but I pulled all the slides. And of course what happened, all the ones what were fit went straight to nest, those what weren't as fit ain't done nothing. But then some of the ends what were fit was possibly overfit, and they made the nest. They laid their full clutches, and would they sit? Would they bugger it? But then, because the problem I got with the 5 already rearing youngsters, I ain't got the eggs or the nest pans to put the eggs that Norwich won't sit on to put under. So I've had to ship them around. One thing I have. What you can rely on are the flighted Norwich hens. They possibly will sit, but these young hens, you've got them too fit.
Yeah.
And so the mistake was, with the 5, I should have either put them down a week earlier than I did, which I think they would have still been the same, good, or held them back and put them down at the same time as the Norwich.
Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Look, he's only kept Norwich 50 years, and even Mr. Ferry makes mistakes. So take some comfort in that. Yeah. But as we sort of sit here today, Keith, there are the five young looking good. They're feathering up nicely now, aren't they? And the Norwich, there are a number of them sitting, and there are a number where I notice you've just put the dividers back in, and you're playing the patient game with them now.
Well, I am. The ones what weren't fit enough, the slides have gone between the cock and the hen, and the ones what wouldn't sit, I've done the same. And I'm going to hold now, be patient and hold, and wait till these 5 are due to go down on the second round. and pull the slide on the knives then, and I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, the results will be better.
Yeah. There are some, though, in case anyone's worried, there are a number of full Norwich eggs, aren't there?
Yeah. I mean, I've probably got the same amount of full eggs, and my first ones are due off this weekend. The same amount as I had this time last year, so I shouldn't be worrying, but, you expect 100% to plan, and with this game, they can catch you out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always work out, but hopefully, the ones what are fertile, they'll hatch and we'll rear them.
Yeah, the best laid plans of bird keeping, I think it's called, mate, isn't it? Which basically is you make a plan and then it all goes horribly wrong.
Well, it can do, but I'm sure at the end of the season there'll be a few here.
Yeah, that feels like an invite back, everyone. I'm going to jump on that. End of the season, we'll have to come back and see whether they all hatched out. I'm sure they will. And what's interesting, mate, is I've done a little tour of the room because I'm mindful that people haven't always, they've seen the flight cages and they've seen the bank of cages, but I've done a little walking tour. And while I'm talking here, you can see it. And I'm always. I love coming here. I love coming here for the company and the laugh we have, but I also love coming here to see the sort of the condition of the room, the birds. We've got banks of cages on sort of both walls. The thing I love about your room, Keith, is the space, and I hope this little walkthrough video gives people an idea that it's not. The canary room, everything's on top of you, but in here you've got that space, and you can tell it, you can feel it in the atmosphere. You can't get this on camera, ladies and gents, but the purity and the quality of the air in here is incredible. Now you'd think with heavily feathered birds as the Norwich are that it might be a little bit dusty. Not at all. And I'm not sure we've really spoken too much about extraction or air quality or anything else in here before, mate. We might have done. We've done 10 episodes, I think, so we probably have at some stage. But
probably have. I mean, all I've got at the moment is the windows just on the catch open, so there is a flow of air. But if I come up in the morning and I don't think that it's fresh enough, then I have got a 12-inch extractor fan, which would draw the air out within seconds with a fresh slot. So I've got no problems with.
No, environment-wise, environment-wise, honestly, I wish you could feel this at home, people. You have to take my word for it, but it is absolutely first class. And one of the things that makes me chuckle is your suckling plants, which they're like bloody triffids, mate. They've grown some since I was last here.
Well, I found last year with having these indoor plants, it does help for humidity.
Yeah,
it was a big difference last year. Although I still use the humidifier. But I haven't had the humidifier out at all yet, as we all know. I had all this damn rain this winter. But what I will say, when I was hatching the five 2 weeks ago, the humidity was just right, just over 60%. So hence the good hatching. But within this 2 weeks, and we had no rain for a few days, I've noticed my gauge on the humidifier, the gauge on there has come right down to, I've just read it now, at 44, so right. There's a big drop.
Yeah.
And I've said in the past, this room does get dry, so I can foresee the humidifier coming back out.
Yeah.
And getting the dampness back into the room.
See.
Because this is where you can get caught out and the hatching not hatching properly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Wonderful stuff. Now, sir, as we look to the cages, to your left and my left, because we're both facing that way, so it would have to be both of our left.
That's common sense, yeah.
You've got a number of a number of pairs of Norwich on, and they're looking, as always, mate, they're looking absolutely top draw. I noticed the dandelion in there. You've been out in the fields again.
Well, no, there's enough dandelions in my lawn to supply the birds with.
It's a perfectly manicured lawn, everyone. I wouldn't want you to think that Keith had let it go to rack and ruin.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I do encourage the dandelions to grow well in there.
Yeah.
Well, I know what is gone on that lawn, so I've got no problems of digging it, where if I went somewhere else, you don't know what's happened, whether it's been sprayed the day before or dogs and cats have been on it, so I know what's been on my lawn. And you don't need masses of big plants of it, you just need the nice young plants with the nice tender buds in there. That's what the birds enjoy.
Yeah.
And when I first started 50 years ago, we never had all these vitamins and different products to try to get your birds in condition. It was a good old Quaker tonic seed from Ace, and it was dandelions, and we bred birds in them days.
Yeah, and since then, mate, we've gone for everything under the sun.
Everything.
And we think, oh, why aren't my birds breeding? And we talk a little bit about birds being overfit, don't we? And I think, you know, part of that sort of conditioning, we know light is a great natural conditioner for them. That's what they respond to. But then we have a tendency, don't we, often to kind of overstimulate and then create problems for ourselves.
Well, I think the fault there is social media. It's so easy to look on Facebook, YouTube, and see what everybody's doing, and you see these films, these shots of these fanciers on the continent who already got Norwich on the sticks, and you think, how have they done it? And you want to be the same, but we're bombarding these birds with so much different products, and hence, you know, my experience this year with some of my young hens just laid full clutches fine, and just won't sit.
No. Too fit to sit.
Too fit.
Yeah.
I'm bombarding too much stuff in them.
Yeah. And it's a challenge, isn't it? Because you want to get the birds, it's striking the balance, and because the birds can't turn round to us yet and go, oh, hang on, I've had enough. I'm a little bit hyper now. Stop feeding me.
Well, I mean, these Norwich, they will settle down, especially on the second round. But, you know, I sat down. You have to sit down and have 5 minutes and think, where am I going wrong? What am I doing? What I shouldn't be doing. And I think we try to get these birds into condition early by giving them all this stuff. But then when it comes to the second round, you're not mixing all these coctions up, because you're feeding them what you're feeding the birds what are rearing the first round, you know, the youngsters in the nest.
Yeah.
You haven't got all these vitamins and stuff in there, and I think that's why the Norwich settled down a bit.
Yeah.
And that's the way we've got to look at it in the future, I think.
Absolutely, mate. And you've got a lovely little, we use the same soak seed mix, which is, you know, we talked about it off camera before, it chits really nice, and, you know, within 24 hours it's servable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good stuff. I mean, the product I have is from Easy M, and Nick Page, his daughter, Anna, I always get it from there, and it's, I don't know, it's a German make. I know the Easy M is German. The egg food, I find that suits me. Everybody to their own, but that suits me. And they're easy soak. Soak for 8 hours. You don't want to be no more. You need only soak it for 4 hours. But I do it, you know, as a routine. Do it in the morning, wash it out in the evening. Sits in the windowsill for 24 hours. And it's ready to feed the following day.
Yeah.
So it's chitted in 24 hours.
Yeah. No, and it is really good stuff. Vasson, I think it's called. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, everyone, but it's in a white and blue bag sack. It isn't inexpensive. It's certainly not the cheapest one on the market, but for me and for Keith, it's the best. Yeah. So, you know, a little recommendation there for you.
Well, I had some left over from last year. I had to get a second bag. because the birds were eating it well. I had second batch, so I had some leftovers, so it sat in there all winter. And I used it beginning of the season, this season, and it is still chitting fine. Yeah. No problem.
Yeah. No, it is super stuff. So listen, as we look here, these cages in front of us, or actually to our left, aren't they? We've got really interesting actually, because I think over the years we've talked about, you know, developing different colours of birds. Again, here always about quality. We've got a couple of white Norwich cocks, and you've got, I think, 2 white Norwich hens. Am I right in saying that?
That's right.
Yeah, so 4 sort of pairs with whites in this year, which is really... you had a good year breeding whites last year, didn't you, in terms of the number of whites that you bred? And there, I mean, these mixed results, I think it's fair to say, mate, isn't it?
Well, I mean, out of the whites, the best 2 whites are the cockbirds, but unfortunately the buff hens are 2 of the hens what just ain't, well, the other week ain't ready for going down to nest. But looking at the cage at the moment, me and Matt, the top hen at the moment is really fit now, so I could pull the slides now.
She's saying, Mr. Ferry, give me that pan. That's what she's saying. I can understand Norwich Canary speak. Yeah.
But the second buff hen is a 3-year-old hen, so I can understand why she's not 100% fit yet. But she's looking all right, so there'll be time, and I'll pull the slide on that. The 2 white hens have already laid, and they're both nests are full clutches, fertile eggs, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, because and one of the other things, you know, we talk a lot about the sort of, you know, the modern methods of things. Ladies and gents, I'm going to show you a picture of the cage now. There's dandelion and there's baths, and I tell you what, there's not very much better conditioning birds, is there, than baths and dandelion?
No, all the year round my baths are out. They never get locked up. They're out every day of the year. And so today, I mean, these hens have got the baths on. Like you say, they've got the dandelion in there. The baths are here for the pairs what are due to hatch. So they go on a couple of days before they're due to hatch. That all helps for hatching.
Yeah.
And the pairs of 5 what are rearing youngsters at nearly 2 weeks old now. The baths go on them because that keeps them fit as well for the next round, keeps them clean.
Yeah. And, which is often one of the things, isn't it, because there's all the crap and everything else around the nest pans as the birds defecate on the outside, and just keeping them nice and tidy.
Yeah, well, and you know if a bird goes into a bath, you know that bird's fit.
Yeah, no, it's a great thingy. And then we've got got a couple of cages of greens as well. We talked about you sort of had a little bit of bad luck again with the greens, didn't you?
Well, last year I had just the 1 pair of greens and only bred 1 because I lost the cockbird on the first round. So I've still got the mother and son. And that's how I would have paired it, but I did have a couple of good friends who's let me have a couple of greens. There's Brian Rayfield, he's let me have a buff cock, so that's gone with the old hen, and I've got a green hen from my old mate, Paul Martin. So hopefully we'll get this strain going of greens.
Fantastic. So whites, greens, and then right behind us, mate, we've got the sort of the main bank of Norwich cages, and we'll shuffle down in a minute and have a look at them because they are looking fabulous.
They're in your eyes, but of course I've trimmed them really hard around the eyes and everything. So what Matt is looking at, and God knows,
I can see.
Have to teach him what a good eye looks like.
I can see beyond that, Keith. I can see the beauty in the birds, you bugger. So, main breeding bank here for the Norwich, six double cages by the looks of it, and 4 high. That's right, I've had to count them quickly, mate.
So there's 12 pair of normals here.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I think so, yeah, right. Well done, good effort.
So there's 12 pairs of normals here, which have all been good birds. A lot of them have done a lot of winning last year, so if I'm paired them right, hopefully there'll be some nice chicks out of them. There's some sitting on fertile eggs. There's an hen here. which the Clear Buff Cock won a major show, and there's 4 out of 4 fertile, and whether she'll rear them, I don't know. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I can feel there might be some topping up going on there, mate. Well, we'll never know. The birds have done. You've always been very candid about sort of, getting your first round, securing your first round, but you will let the Norwich rear, and we've seen the sights here before of the Norwich packing and feeding in, and I don't think there's a better sight, is there, in the hobby than seeing 2 Norwich really piling food into the young?
No. I mean, that's what makes the hobby with the Norwich. It really makes me feel good when I see a pair of Norwich feeding. And I had more pairs feed last year than I have done for a number of years, and I shall give them all a chance this year.
Yeah.
You've got to breed that instinct back into them. I think over the years we've bred it out of them, having all these feeders. But I've said before, you need to rely on that first round, so you do need the feeders. Your first round are your show birds and also your breeding birds for next year. They're the more mature birds.
Yeah.
So, you've got to bank on a good first round.
Yeah. So we'll fingers crossed for all of these, and despite what Keith says, he might have trimmed them, but I think they still look bloody lovely, everyone, and I'm sure you will do too as well.
I mean, the other thing you got to think of, it's 6:20 in the evening now, and if you hear in the background the birds are singing still,
yeah,
and that's how your bird room should feel. You should hear these birds buzzing this time of the year. If you walk into a bird room and there's no sound in there, something's amiss.
Yeah, no, it's a really, really good point, that, mate. It really is. It's 6:20 and we haven't had a drink. We've had coffee. That's all, everyone. I know when you watch these episodes, you worry about Keith and I, but we haven't had a drink at all, have we?
There's plenty of time for that.
Yeah.
But he tells me he's got to be up and away by 6 in the morning.
Yeah,
so I don't know whether he'll be lower to that.
I have, yeah. It'll be water for me, everyone. Just water for me. I tell you what we're going to do now, mate. We're going to have a little look round, because you're gonna show us. You close ring the birds, and you're going to show us quickly with steady hands how you close ring. And then you're also going to show us about with some of the fights, you're going to drop some of the nests, so you're going to show us how you prepare your nest pans and how you do those as well. So
we've probably done all this before, but it's just to remind people what I do. What I will say is the system what I use works for me. It may not work for everybody, but see what you think. See if you like the system, try it. But it does work for me.
That'll do for us.
Okay, for the start is that be prepared. You see me hand washing birds, but before you take a nest of youngsters out, get everything ready so you'll not got those youngsters out too long. The other thing, when the birds are ready to ring, is when they have started the void over the side of the nest, and you don't want them too big so you struggle to get the ring on. I've already rung 3 of these, so I'm only going to do the one, and that's this one here. And the one thing you do notice that the first thing they do is the droppings, so let them get that and clear that out of the way. Get your ring ready. And of course, with these 5, they're an E-ring, so they're quite small. Hence me saying, don't wait too long before you ring them. You won't get them on. Now, I always put them the right way up, so when you're judging, you can see the ring numbers, especially in the Norwich. Back claw is right back, put the ring over the 3 front ones, pull the ring on, over, and then release your back claw. Once that's done, if I'm doing them all, I've got the second pan here and I'll put those youngsters in there. When you've done them all, then stick them back into the pan. Now the other thing I will say is that in 2 or 3 days time, when these youngsters get bigger, I would take the nest out and just leave the felt. It gives them more room to grow. Otherwise you'll find that they'll fall out the nest and things like that. But I'll give them plenty of room. So I'll wait 2 or 3 more days and then take them out. They're not going to jump the nest in 2 or 3 times, but take the nest out and just leave them, put them back into the felt. Right, I've said in the past that when the youngsters in the nest are 14 days, regardless how big they are, I drop the nest, and especially with the 5, because they tend to want to go to nest quicker than the Norwich. But all my birds are dropped at 14 days onto the floor to put a new nest pan in. Now I've said in the past I use these old yoghurt dishes, which I'll put the nest pan in. But you find with these little 5 nest pans, they tend to move about in there. So I will fill it with some sawdust, your shavings or whatever, stick that pan in, then there's no movement, right? The other thing is I will cut up cardboard, because this pan is going to go into the corner of the cage, and that will, when they start meshing over the side, it saves your cage fronts, etc. Your sides of your cages from being stained by when they're messing over the side. All helps. Right, the new pan is going to go in, but before that I shall put the cardboard up into this corner. That's where I'm going to drop the nest to. Then stick the yoghurt pot in, there, in that corner. Take the old nest and just drop the youngsters in there. At 14 days you'll find that, I mean they're quite big youngsters, but 14 days they will not jump the nest. You leave it any longer, they'll probably jump the nest. Then drop that perch over there, so the parents, or the foster parents, these will be the parents because they're young 5 in there, will go onto there and feed them. Then the new pan goes straight into where you hang that, and then make sure you put the nesting material, so plenty of nesting material. And the thing I find is by dropping those birds down there, a couple of things, they'll still feed them, they'll still go down and feed them. The hen will tend to go back to the second round in the same place for nesting. Generally you don't get no feather plucking because their youngsters are out of the way. And if you kept them up there and put a nest pan in a different position, she'll want to nest on top of the little youngsters and they'll jump the nest. So I find that a better system and the youngsters don't get disturbed. Then the last thing, when them youngsters do jump the nest, and sometimes they may jump a little bit earlier, not very often, but by the evening they're back in the nest. Where if they was up on at that level, they would never get back up. So this is a system what works for me. Right, regarding the system I stick nest pans is that I use carbolic soap, which I get the slabs of carbolic soap and just shave them into this pot, add some boiling water and then just get it into a paste. Once it's in that paste, as you can see, I get a 1-inch brush and just put plenty inside the nest pan. And the other thing I do, I stick it around the edge of the nest like this. It's just a precaution mite don't like carbolic soap. It's another precaution to stop mite if you ever did have mite. That's my theory. Whether it bloody works, I don't know, but that's what I do. The dishpan goes in, or the felt rather. The felt goes into the pan. Just shape it so it's nice and neat. Like that, and I can do dozens of those in no time. And the birds, I'm saying now, the birds, especially the butlers, they won't pull their neck. That's all I do. Right, regarding dandelions, I have seen one or two novice people asking questions regarding dandelions on Facebook and that. They're saying, do you feed your birds with the yellow flower, which is that? And the answer is no, they're not going to get any benefit from the flower. What they are going to get the benefit is if you dig the whole plant up, a young plant like this, is the little buds which got the milky seeds in there. There is young shoots in there, even the root of the dandelion. They'll all nibble at that. That's the main thing they go for. And little young plants, that little bud there is ideal. They love it. And that's the stuff what really gives them into breeding condition, my opinion.
Right, mate. We've covered some ground, haven't we, today? But what we haven't talked about yet is the little bird in the flight.
What, the bullfinch?
The bullfinch. Yeah. Shall we talk about the bullfinch?
Yeah. Well,
is it Trigger's broom, this bullfinch?
Well, I don't know whether I mentioned last time you're there now, I lost the native bullfinch last year, which did breed. I did have a fertile egg on the second round. She did rear it for 3 days, but with my lack of knowledge on the bullfinch, I thought best left alone. She's doing a marvellous job, but she packed up feeding it. And talking to experts, they said they're prone to do this. With the amount of feeders I had, I missed the chance. I should have put it under something, but I learnt my lesson there. And then unfortunately through the winter months, she got the gapes and I lost her. But a damn good friend of mine, Nicky Page, has let me have another one. It is a Siberian, a bigger bird, a lovely bird. It's more steadier than my Norwich. It's as tame as I don't know what, but a lovely bird. And it's with the same cock bird which was with that native bullfinch last year. So we'll see what happens this year.
Yeah.
It's not been with this canary all winter, and it's been with other bullfinches, so it may be an harder task, but they're getting on all right. There's no bickering and fighting, but at the moment she's the boss of the two.
Yeah.
So, and we'll see what happens.
Beautiful bird, as you say, absolutely beautiful bird. Got a couple of shots of her here, and a very lovely whistle. She greets you and Margaret in the morning, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's very vocal. You know, she pipes to me, I pipe back to her, and we could do that all day. But then when I'm sitting around or feeding the other birds, she's very vocal on it's not a song, but she's like talking to herself or talking to this cockbird. Yeah, so in my eyes, she's quite fit to be doing that.
Yeah.
And she likes it in this little flight.
Yeah.
Nothing's happened over the last few weeks, so I've put the slide back and we're going to pull it in a few minutes and see what happens. I don't think anything will happen, but I've heard people say they got young bullies and that at the moment, but I've heard people say bullies, the best time is May time, so we'll We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, we'll pull the slide back. We'll see what happens. I'll have to move around the room a little bit. I remember last year when we did this, and there was a mating straight away. And what you didn't capture on camera, because I edited the audio out, was Keith saying, "Bloody hell, I hope you got that on camera, mate." Yeah. But what we'll do is we'll pull the slide. We'll have a look. And then if this doesn't mate, we'll use last year's footage. But we won't tell it. No, we won't.
Well, you'll see the difference in the size of the bird. But,
it'll be a stunt double from last year.
Yeah. I don't think it will happen because those birds, it was later on in the season.
It was later on in the year. Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
All right, everyone. Well, stay tuned. We're going to give it a go now. Right, well, listen, everyone, that's all we've got time for. We've seen some early signs between the Bully and the Norwich, so nothing yet, but it'll happen, mate, won't it?
Well, if it's going to happen, it'll happen. If it don't, it don't. But it's interesting.
It's very philosophical.
Well, it's another challenge, and that's why I like challenges, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, as if keeping Norwich and breeding Norwich isn't challenging enough.
No, it is. It's not now. Wonder I've still got my hair on, but no.
Yeah, I'm not sure what my excuse is. I don't breed that many.
Well, perhaps you had a lot of luck with five in the past.
Yeah, that's maybe what it is, mate. Maybe what it is. Well, listen, as always, it is a pleasure and a privilege to spend time in your good company. I hope, and I'm sure they will have done, that everybody who's watched the episode will have enjoyed it. There's always stuff to pick up. I've, again, here today, picked up more stuff that I don't do, and I've had birds for nearly 3 decades. So thanks, mate. Thanks for everything.
Look, Matt, we love having you down here, and we learn from one another, don't we? I mean, I learn things from you, so it works both ways. And the main thing is, if you've picked a few things up which you think you're going to implement in your bird room, I just hope other fanciers think the same, and I hope it works for those as well. Yeah,
I have to say, Mr. Ferry, only this morning I was using old eggshells as I moved a chick from one nest to the other, and I moved the eggshell with it, so it convinced the hen that it was her chick and it hatched out of the eggs. That was a Keith Ferry tip.
That's right. Well, I'm not the only one that does it, but over the 50 years you do pick up these little tips, which hopefully helps, you know. The thing is, every youngster what comes out those eggshells, you need to rear, and the more chance you give them, the more chances you're going to have youngsters on the sticks.
Yeah, and that's what we look forward to. And on that note, we will look forward to coming back later on in the year, mate, to see the youngsters on the sticks, and hopefully it will be a very good, successful season for you.
Well, fingers crossed, and I hope the same with you, and I hope the same with every fancier who watches this episode. I wish you well, and I wish you success, not only in breeding the birds, but molting them out and onto the show bench, because we need the people out there to show the birds they've bred.
Fabulous stuff. Wise words from the master. Right, listen, everyone, if you've enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. I'm not sure if this is episode 10 or episode 11 in the Keith Ferry series, but all I will say is there will be more. So until next time, everyone, take care.
Yeah, bye. Bye, everybody.